I'm with Schmuel Salway from Lech. Now, Schmuel, what is Lech?
Lech is a discipleship ministry. Twice a year, we have 3-month program for Israelis. Most of them are after the army. We also have Arabs involved in this program, Israeli Arabs who come to this program. It's a 3-month discipleship program where we come together, we study the Bible, we travel through the land of Israel, we hike, we do different volunteer things. It's about being disciples and making disciples.
What does Lech mean?
Lech Lecha is actually from the calling of God to Abraham. From Genesis, he says, Lech Lecha, go forth. So go to a place I will show you. And Abraham did that. So Lech Lecha is actually a step of faith, coming and deciding to be a disciple of Yeshua and following him and letting him lead you.
And when was the organization started and why was it started?
Okay. Lech Lecha started 20 years ago by two young people called Yochanan and Alon. It actually started because Yochanan finished the military, and it was a hard time. It's compulsory to go to the military in Israel, also boys and girls. And some of them go through hard situations, whether it's combat situations, something they've seen, or just the fact that they're away from home, away from their home congregation or church. So what actually happens is they go away from their faith, most of them, and they want to reconnect their lives, recommit their lives to Yeshua. And so when Yochanan started it, he said, there is a need for soldiers after the army who are going whatever I'm going through to come together and recommit their life to the Lord. So there were programs all around the world, and they're in English and different languages, but there wasn't the same 3-month discipleship program here in Israel, and he started that 20 years ago here at Yad HaShmona, where we are right now.
And how many students do you have usually joining the group, the team?
The group varies in size. Last discipleship program was one of our biggest, so it was 19 students. And this program we started last month is 16 students. We have 4 young staff that stayed behind. So there's usually a group together with staff of around 25, 26. We travel around the land. We study the Bible. We actually live together, the boys and the girls in dorms. We eat together, we travel together. So it's a live-in program for 3 months.
It must be special traveling the land of Israel and also reading about those things in the Bible as well.
Yeah, I think one of the most amazing things about this is that you can study the Bible in Hebrew, in native language, and actually travel in Israel to where everything happens. Last week we went to the valley of Elah, where David fought Goliath, and we were able to actually sit there and study the story of David Goliath at the same location it happened. So I think it's amazing. It's a privilege. I don't think Israelis know how privileged they are to actually be in the site. Yesterday we were in Jerusalem and we were at King David's palace, and it was just amazing to read the Bible stories there. They come alive to you here in Israel. We did Hezekiah's tunnel, and just seeing archaeology and history and seeing how the Bible is alive, the Bible is true, and there's even archaeological evidence that the Bible is true.
And what sort of background do the students come from?
Some of them come from messianic families, messianic Jewish families, and so they grew up in a believing family, and some of them just came to faith in the last few years. So in this program, we have at least 3 who just heard the gospel through their friends or through media, through websites, reading New Testament themselves. They connected with the congregation and they got discipled, and they recommended to come to Lech Lecha. So we have a variety. In the last years, we see more and more young people coming to faith we have somebody in this program from a religious background. If you know, a Haredim, like black hats and very ultra religious Jews. So we have somebody from a family like that.
Now you are Arabs and Jews coming together. Is that a challenge sometimes, or does it go really well because you're all believers?
I think it's always enriching when we have Arab people in the program, and we had some over the years. And I think we need to focus here in the program on not what separates us. So there might be different opinions on different things about the land of Israel, but we agree on one thing, and that's important, that Yeshua, he's the way, the truth, and the life. There's no other way except through the sacrifice that Yeshua, Jesus, did for our sins. So I think we even have in this group people who come from a more traditional congregation or church, less traditional, whether you like to call it charismatic or non-charismatic. And I think what's unique in this program is that we can come with our differences, but focus on our similarity and the truth. And the truth is that God loves us so much, he gave his only begotten Son for our sins.
Is this building a strong discipleship in their lives?
Yes, I think it is even talking. We talk openly about our differences and our theology, but coming back to the basic and building their lives on the rock, on the foundations. I think that really strengthens their walk and their discipleship. And when they finish the program, they go on making disciples themselves.
Did they get the opportunity to do missions in the program as well?
Yes, we have a mission outreach opportunity. Usually we go to Africa. We have actually a school, an orphanage that we started in Uganda, and we've been going back. Last year, because of Corona, COVID, we haven't been able to travel. But we also have other mission opportunities. People contact us and say, would some young people be interested? And we have a database of young people who would like to go. So whether it's through Lech where we traveled to Zimbabwe too with another ministry called Jewish Voice. And so we get these opportunities to travel, but we place in them the understanding that Israel has to also be a light to the world and go out. And so many people even have take programs like Hebrew to the Nations, where they actually study the Bible in order to help other people around the world to translate their Bible from Hebrew to their native language.
You've already mentioned Corona. Has it been a challenge over the last year with Corona?
Yes, it's been a challenge because especially in Israel, there's been 3 lockdowns, restrictions, amount of people you can come together. So it's definitely been a challenge. But I can tell you that this year has been, I think, so far the most blessed year. We had 2 of the biggest programs this year. And it was a juggle working around the restrictions. We weren't able to meet congregations. Usually we go on the weekends. If it's in Elat, we visit the Elat congregation or Beersheba or Tiberias. But we haven't been able to fellowship together. But we have to be creative. We met outside. We had some of the teachers on Zoom. We were camping more outside and inviting youth, young adult groups. So it was definitely a challenge, but I can tell you it's been one of the most blessed years as far as discipleship here in Israel.
The students that come, are they coming from the local churches here in the community?
Yes, we're blessed that the local congregations, after 20 years, know the work we do, and they send their young people. So we have from very different congregations from the north to the south. And again, I said we don't have denominations, but different theologies, congregations and churches, they send their young people because they know that we focus on the gospel and not on our differences.
What sort of things do you teach?
We go through the Bible basically, but what happened a few years ago is we started teaching them the Bible and just understood they're not even there. They can't receive everything there is in the Bible. So we actually separate into 3 months. The first month is the basics. And whether people know the basic, it's a good time for them to study it again. And some people don't really know their foundation. So the first month is about salvation, about the gospel, about identity, about forgiveness. And then the next month we go through the Bible, starting from Genesis and the prophecies and the prophets and the New Testaments. We go through understanding the Bible and deeper. And then the last part is, what do we do with this? We know our identity, we know the gospel, we know salvation, we know the Bible, what do we do with it? So it's about making disciples. So there's the last part is about sharing the gospel. How do you share the gospel with Muslims? How do you share the gospel with Jews, religious Jews? How do you serve? How do you volunteer? What are your giftings and how you can use those for the glory of God?
Do you see them change over the 3 months?
Yes, it's amazing. It's only 3 months, but I can tell you that I've seen their lives totally change. Young people coming in, afraid to pray, coming out. People afraid to share the gospel, coming out and just talking to every single person they see on the street and just wanting everybody to be discipled. So definitely these 3 months, I can tell you, have changed their life. And I think this is why I keep doing what I do. I love doing this because it energizes me seeing these young people reconnect with their love, fall in love with God, fall in love with the Bible, want to study the Bible even more. Some of them go on to Bible school to have a stronger knowledge of the Bible. And definitely I can tell you, everybody who comes here has changed. And it's not because of the amazing program. I think God works in their lives. And when they give him the time, God is amazing and he's faithful.
Do you have some that go on into ministry?
Yes, we do have people. We don't focus specifically on ministry because a lot of people are thinking about what shall I study and where shall I work. And we do encourage people to study. But I think they understand in this program what is really important. Success is not measured in how much money you make or what's your education. It is measured by who you are and how you live your life with God. So there are people all through the years who've dedicate their lives to just serve him, whether it's in Israel, around the world, in their congregations, serving. Some of them are in leadership in different groups, whether it's youth groups or congregations. And definitely, I think it's a natural growth when you want to serve God. You want to give him all your lives.
And this year you're celebrating 20 years of Lech lcha. That must be exciting.
Yes, it is. 20 years. And so hundreds, I think over 300 young people through this program, through these years. And we do want to start a celebration, do something this year. We're restricted because of COVID. That's opening up. So we want to do an event and just invite alumni. Some of them are lawyers. Some of them have businesses. Some of them are in full-time mission, just to share their testimonies and encourage the others. And so I think it will be great encouragement. 20 years of work here in the land, and you can see the fruits in the lives of young people, and they touch other young people. So I didn't start it. I didn't found this program, but I'm blessed to be the last year to be part and to lead it and to continue something that Lech Lecha belongs to God, and to continue something that God has done here in the land of Israel.
Do you get to hear the stories of lives changed?
Yes, it's amazing. We hear testimonies even through the program. The last thing we do in the program is we just sit together and we share testimonies, and just seeing the life change. We see lives of people who were drug addicts, and God saved them, going out and helping others, people who were in depression. And it can go on and on. I think there's hundreds of testimonies of people who changed their lives totally. Just Lech Lecha was just part of their change. God saved them. God restored them, connected them to our congregation. They came and were discipled. They got more tools to go out and to serve him more in the land of Israel and around the world.
Why do you do what you do?
It's about giving your life, your all to God. My background, I served in the Israeli army. I was a combat medic. And we think here in Israel that the Israeli army is the best in the world. I don't know if it's true, but that's how we feel when we're 18, 19, we serve in the army. And then I went on working for Israeli Port Authority. I worked for El Al, and I always believe that El Al has the best security in the world. And I worked for Israeli consulate, the Israeli embassy in New York. I continue to work in the Israeli government, if you know, the Israeli Secret Service. And we always think that it's the best in the world. If you hear stories of the Mossad, then we think it's the best in the world. And in the end, if you want to work for the best, you work for God. And I think that's what I'm doing. I work for the best boss, and I think I wouldn't see it any other way.
You sound like you've had an exciting life.
Yes, I have. God allowed that to happen. I had a lot of doubts. I never thought I'd go into full-time ministry, but I knew from a young age that I had a calling. So I wanted to do a whole bunch of stuff. God didn't have to let me do that, but I traveled around the world as part of my work. I got to fly around the world. I got to hike, to travel, bungee, dive in Australia. I got to travel most of the world, but I think God allowed that to happen so I could go back and just dedicate my life, understand that God is a gracious God. He allows you to do sometimes what you want to do, but in the end, I think it's about doing what he wants you to do, and that's what I believe I'm doing.
What's your prayer for the next 20 years of Lech Lecha?
I believe that more people are going to be saved here in the land of Israel, and I think that we need to grow and able to disciple many more. So even though this program is small, I think there has to be more programs like that, not necessarily just Lech Lecha, but more programs who disciple, who train, who teach. And my vision for Israel is that more people will hear the gospel, more people will come to faith, and there will be many Lech Lechas all through the land of Israel, and Israel will be a light and to the world.
Are you seeing God moving today in Israel?
Yes, definitely. Just hearing testimonies from this program, 3 young people, one of them just went online, was thinking about God, but he didn't like religion, so he went online, saw testimonies of messianic Jews and ordered the New Testament online. Another girl here was an artist, and she just drew something like a cross, and she was starting about Jesus. She started reading online, connected to a congregation, and there's another testimony of a young girl here. So I think God is working. If you look through the programs before, people were told in the army about Jesus. They couldn't sleep. They saw a dream. They saw a vision. People were handed New Testament. They saw something different in the lives of these Messianic Jews, and they asked questions. So I think that's what's happening. People are more open. There's more awareness, and I think more and more people are saved already, and I believe that numbers will grow in the next years.
What's your website and Facebook page for anyone who'd like to know more?
Okay. Our website is lechlecha.com. It's LECHLCHA. So it's Lech Lecha, means goforth.com. And also on Instagram, on Facebook, we're Lech Lecha Israel. So look us up.
Okay, Shmuel, thank you much.
Thank you. It's been a blessing.